It's Andy Doc Melder here, Greenside Total Wellness here, coming to you live today. And a beautiful day it is, and we're going to do a little pantry sesame chicken. I've been promising a live cooking demonstration here for a little while, and so here we are today, finally getting to it. I kind of want to show y'all what we have going on right now. Y'all can maybe hear that sizzle in the pan. We got some of the marinated chicken already cooking. I'm going to go ahead and show y'all a little bit about that while that goes. I like to marinate in Ziploc bags. Easy to do. It produces a 100% surface area, wrap around for your marinated goods when you do that, and you can do that and like push all the air out and keep it in the fridge actually for quite a while. A lot of people don't know that you can marinate your food for quite several days sometimes. This is our marinade right here, and this is just kind of whisked up now. A little bit of the toasted sesame seed oil, rice wine vinegar, some soy sauce. And then a lot of people are surprised, but yeah, I put a little mustard in it to give it a little twang. But the mustard's also an emulsifier that helps pull everything together. We got a seasoning blend over here I made. Garlic powder, some smoked paprika, onion powder, white pepper, turmeric, and some ginger. And I put all that stuff up there so y'all can follow along, but that's just in here blended together. Some black pepper and a little bit of salt because we're going to use soy sauce today. A lot of sodium in it. You don't want to use too much salt at the same time, so be careful with your salt, but I still add some. Alright? Somebody asked me earlier if they could leave the celery out of the recipe, and it turns out I don't have any to use today. That was a snafu, but whatever. So yeah, you can leave the celery out. It's just cooking, people. It's not that serious. So, this sounds like it's sizzling really good over here now. Let's take a look. Oh yeah. We got that nice browning texture, the golden brown and delicious as we call it. And I'm going to let that go a little bit more on the other side while we season up these chicken breasts and get them ready to go in the pan. I made these into cutlets. Alright, I like using cutlets. You can take the whole big chicken breast. Sometimes they're big old honkers we get from the grocery store, and you can cut them in half, like this. It's a good one. And so they're thin and they cook really quickly. And if you wanted to take those and you wanted to cut them up even more into strips and make like a stir fry, you can. We're not really doing like a stir fry, we're doing it more like a whole chicken piece. So once these are pretty much almost already cooked now because they've been cut so thin. We'll put this back on. You want to make sure. We'll talk about this for a second while I season these up. When you season, you always want to let your seasoning high, I say put it high and let it fly. If you try to season like this, it's going to fall into clumps. But if you season a little higher up, then it kind of disperses out a little more evenly, and you get a better coating of seasoning on food. There you go. Gotta hurry this up before my pan gets too hot. But you want it to be hot. Alright, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to sear our meat, and we're going to do a stir fry, which is essentially the same thing as a saute. And when you're doing those things, you want to have, it's high heat cooking. I'm using avocado oil because it holds the heat. Peanut oil works really good for Asian flavors. Coconut oil looks really good for high heat cooking as well. I'm going to add a little bit more oil back in there. You want to hear that sizzle right when you go into the pan. If you don't hear the sizzle when you put it in the pan, you're not searing. So then you're basically just kind of like warming your food up or steaming it, and you're not going to get that good golden brown texture that you're looking for, and you're not going to get that caramelization that comes along with it. There's a lot of added flavor without having to add more ingredient to your food. So flavor with technique rather than with ingredients, which is good because when you're like trying to stay healthy, you don't have to add a bunch of butter and cream and other stuff into your food to make it taste good. You can actually make it taste rich and delicious through your cooking techniques. So you want to make sure your pan is nice and hot, whether it's a wok or a saute pan or whatever it is. If you're doing those high heat cooking, if you're sweating your vegetables, you don't need to heat the pan up as much. But if you're sauteing or stir frying, you want to hear that sizzle, then you definitely want to heat the pan. So we'll just let these go a few minutes per side. And I'll show you the ones that are already cooked. That's that golden brown and delicious texture I was talking about. Especially that one looks really good. They all look pretty good. Alright. The other thing I'll show y'all while that's cooking, I'm going to show y'all my broccoli trick. Alright? A lot of times people, if you take your broccoli and you try to chop it on your cutting board, it makes a huge mess everywhere. Alright? This is my trick. I cut it in a bowl. So using the bowl that the broccoli was washed in, obviously, I can start to cut these stalks off. There you go. Yep. And you can cut them as meaty as you like. If you want to cut them small and do the florets, you can cut them across the top here. We're not doing that today. And look how quick and easy you get your broccoli off the stalk.
Thanks, Brooke. She likes our kitchen.
Yeah, thanks. It feeds people.
She said, great to see you.
I can't see you, but ditto. Hear from you. Alright, so that's pretty simple. This chicken should be ready to go ahead and flip. That quick. I say about 4 minutes aside. Ooh, yeah, that's really nice. Got that soy sauce in there too, so that's why it gets so dark. Don't be scared of a little darkness on your food. Even if it gets a little bit burned, sometimes that's really nice. There's some chefs around the world that seek out that flavor. We already got our white rice cooking. Alright. I'll just follow the instructions on the package on that one, alright? Not that hard. Y'all notice I reserved a little bit of the marinade. Alright, I only marinated the chicken about 30 minutes ahead of time. If you have more time than that, that's great. 30 minutes with this particular recipe, this particular marinade will work just fine. But you know, a day or two would be even better. Especially with the thin cut chicken breast, it would really soak up that flavor. And in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and pull these. I'm going to cook them more before we eat them, y'all. Don't worry. Keep these set aside. Alright, now this is very important. A lot of people at this point in time are going to go want to wash their pan. And I will tell you not to do that. We're going to cook right here in the same goodness that we just created in the wok. And I start with the onions. These are juliennes into thin strips. Very nice. red-handled spatula. That's what a red-handled spatula is, y'all. Rubbermaid red-handled spatula for all your cooking needs. These are the ones that can handle the heat and don't melt when you cook with them. Alright, so we're going to get those onions going, and I want to hit it with a little bit of the seasoning that I have left here. Notice we still have a sizzle in my pan. That's a good thing. Goes to the compost heap. Let it run away. Alright, you're going to want these onions to cook down just a little bit before you start adding your other ingredients. How do you know what that means? Look at the onions, and when they start to get soft and a little bit translucent, these are still opaque. If you look there, for this one, it's starting to get a little translucent. Well, that's what you're looking for.
Can you remind them what seasoning you just used?
All right, that's the seasoning blend that I made. That's on, and I can post it up after the video is made. We're gonna say I'm making up these amounts. About a quarter teaspoon of garlic powder, quarter teaspoon of onion powder, half teaspoon of smoked paprika, quarter teaspoon of white pepper, quarter teaspoon of turmeric, and a quarter teaspoon of ginger. If you have fresh ginger, you can use that too. You can play with the amounts, it's not that serious. But I just kind of, almost in equal amounts, but more smoked paprika. Actually, I just used whatever was left in my jar. And smoked paprika. And then I'm going to hit it with a little more pepper. I like peppery food. Alright, these onions are ready to go ahead and add in. If I had my celery, I'd add that in too. If you don't, carrots. And this is where you can play around. You can add your own creative style to this. Stir-fried vegetables are stir-fried vegetables. So while I had carrots and onions and broccoli and celery on hand the day I first made this pantry style, if I'd have had asparagus, if I'd have had, snap peas, if I'd have had green beans, if I'd have had just about anything else, it might have gone in there too. Stir fries are actually an incredible way to get rid of your vegetables if they're starting to go bad. And you need to get rid of them. Soup, stir fries, and sautés are all fantastic ways to kind of play kitchen cleanup, if you will. Now, because the people in my house like their broccoli cooked pretty good. More than I. But the sacrifices we make for those that we love, I'm going to go ahead and add these in. If they're too big, I can just break it up by hand. No big deal. Ain't scared. I'll give y'all an introduction to an idea of tempering your food. Okay, anytime I add a new ingredient into my pan, I always want to maintain that high heat cooking. So if I have an ingredient that's not hot and I put it into my pan and I start stirring it around right away, especially if that's coming straight out of the fridge, that could kill the heat of your pan, and you don't want to do that. So what you want to do instead is add your ingredients on the top and let them sit there for a moment while they heat up and kind of get happy. And then once all that happens, you can stir everything up. Right now what's happening is my onions and my carrots are sitting on the bottom and they're just getting a little bit more caramelized and beautiful. So no worries there. So I'll give that a minute while I take a sip of water. Now we can start tossing this around. Don't over toss. People make a mistake. You think you have to constantly stir, a saute, or a stir fry? I like to take a different approach. I like to stir and set. So let it set for a minute. It's a very interesting thing to see. Vegetables cooking in a pan. But you know, that's what they gotta do. So, and we can actually even turn our heat up at this point. We have all of our ingredient in the pan, and we can really rely on that high heat process. I don't have to worry about like turning my back on it and like food scorching at this point. I can kind of turn that dial up, if you will. And the more the onions cook, the more they're gonna just caramelize and taste better and awesome. The carrots can handle the heat and they can handle the cook time. The broccoli is gonna take a while before it softens up. If you wanna speed up that process, there's an easy way to do it, and that's called par blanching your food. A lot of green vegetables, when you just see them presented like almost in a raw presentation, you'll see they're like really bright and really green and they look really awesome. That's the chef's trick, is that they do this process called par blanching the food, which is where you just heat up a pot of water, you get it very, 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 very salty, like the ocean salty, and then you take your vegetables and it shouldn't be boiling, but it should be just right under a rolling boil, and you can pop them in there and you can let them set for just a minute or two, and they will actually very evenly cook and pull all the chlorophyll out to the surface and make them super green and pretty. And I do that like with asparagus and broccoli and some of the richer vegetables sometimes when I want to cook up that speeding process and make them look really nice. Alright, so this little bit of marinade that I had left over, let's call it a quarter cup to a half cup. I'm going to go ahead and add that in. Alright? Oh yeah, you want to hear that sizzle. That's a little sauce. And I'm going to show y'all something I didn't show you earlier.
Andy's got the template.
Yeah.
Brennan.
But I do both. Like, you don't have to flip the pan. You can use the spatula. Alright, you kind of want to fold it around. Ooh. I did the sesame seeds, I toasted those up earlier. And I just toasted those in my stainless steel pan. No oil, I just put it on medium heat and I kind of let them get toasty.
Brennan says hi.
See who?
Brennan?
Oh.
Yvonne?
Oh, cool. Hi. Alright. And that marinade is going to act as your sauce now. You're going to just kind of bring that all together and let it get nice and happy. I'm going to take my chicken. We'll just let it finish out in the pan here. All these juices, they're gonna go in. Beautiful flavor. You don't want to miss out on it. And that's pretty much it. What we're gonna do from here, this rice is beautiful. By the way, my wife Heather made the rice and it came out great. Just want to throw that out there. Hit it with a little salt, pepper. A little oil. And we'll plate this out. I'll plate one for you guys. Just to have fun with. You could do a little bowl and make it a little dome and, you know, kind of have fun with your rice like you see in the Asian restaurants. One little simple way I like to try to make food look nice. 1 second. It's just to leave. Kind of use a line. Make a little crisscross. Ooh, this might one of the pretty ones. Super pretty.
Don't forget your sesame seeds.
Yep. Can't forget. Don't forget the sesame seeds. I didn't add them to the dish. I'm going to add them on top right now. Oh, isn't that fancy? Look, you could feel like you're, you know, at a fancy Asian restaurant when you're at home and you're eating a rainbow of vegetables. And I think if you order Chinese food, the average Chinese food meal is like 2,000 calories or something crazy like that. So it's definitely not a health food at that point. But this one, we're a little bit maintaining some of the nutrition, some of the health factor. We've got some lean protein, some white rice, and what else could you ask for? Hope y'all enjoyed my Pantry Sesame chicken cooking video today. And check out greensidetw.com. That's my new website. We're going to be uploading the video up to the website as well. And we're going to be coming up with all kinds of cool stuff and giving y'all cool information about, you know, healthy lifestyles and different things like that. So stay tuned, and thank y'all for joining me very much today. Have a great day.